Okay, this recording is started. Jeff? Volume's all the way up. Okay, this is our...
Okay. This is a meeting of the Streets Committee, Village of Minerva Park. Present are Joseph Curl, Tony Benedetti, Mike Fletchinger, the village engineer, Mayor Tiffany Hughes, and Diane Shrimp.
Okay, and it's June...
Yeah.
9th?
June
9th.
June 9th.
All right, June 9th. All right. Oh, we're ready.
So I don't know what the...
Where are we starting, Joe?
Well, I'd like to start talking about storm sewers.
That's the focus of
Storm sewers,
what the committee's going to be doing for some time.
I guess I've got all kinds of questions, and starting off.
Should we apologize to Mike now, or later?
No.
I'm kidding.
But you had been working or talking with Columbus while they had been doing something behind, the mayor's house. Now, I'm trying to understand what lines are Columbus looking at that, they're not looking through our lines, are they?
No, they're not. So Columbus reached out. Well, I think they were talking to the mayor, and then the mayor put them in contact with me. My understanding, based on the conversation that Randall and I had with the city of Columbus, their rep is the person that we've been communicating with on this is named Jim Arthur, I believe is his last name. He said that the city of Columbus, were getting some complaints about some flooding that was happening on the west side of Cleveland Avenue.
Right.
So they were trying to look downstream, which is east of Cleveland Avenue, so in the village,
Right.
to identify if there was anything that could be causing problems into their system. Now, in the Yasmin Market area and the Jordan Road area, that's right on the border between Columbus and Minerva Park. The Northland Plaza has a storm sewer system that was installed in, looks like around 1987. I mean, that's the date of the plans, so maybe 87, maybe 88.
Does that system empty into that catch basin behind, like the retirement homes or whatever?
It goes past it and everything. The retirement homes that are kind of north of.
Well, Northland
east. That storm sewer system goes behind. Well, it comes from in front of Northland Plaza, ties into the back of Northland Plaza, goes east. And then eventually comes into the village's system, storm sewer system, north of the North Lake.
Now, I've seen that in a storm.
Yeah, I saw that.
I saw that happen.
So it ties in, there's two detention basins.
I've never seen on the
Are
maps.
you talking about the
I've never
huge
seen
concrete tub up there, Mike?
You've got the East Shore Court project.
Yep.
Has the lines are at the northern part of the village that
Yes.
run down. Okay. I've never seen any connection from that pipe.
There's one.
So that connects to.
Yep, at the very top, pretty much at the boundary of the village and the city. There's a connection into the village's system, and it comes south to the North Lake.
Is that the one that's in the giant concrete tub?
See, I think we need to get a drawing on here because.
I know. If I could. I don't know how to use the television screen.
Oh, I do.
But
because this is where the whole.
Well, you
Tony,
continue
you're
talking.
familiar with the giant concrete tub.
Yeah.
There's a drain in there, and when this guy was dumping the pollutants into that tub, it came down into North Lake, so it has to be seeping or connected. But that's a huge tub.
Oh, and water. Oh, it just starts.
Yeah.
What, did they use that for a
Well, I think it's a retention.
That's what I
It's
think.
for Northern Plaza, I think, isn't it?
But is that in the village?
no, That is outside of the
This-
So we
villages,
can't use it.
USB,
that's
like,
outside of the villages.
That's just the Wi-Fi.
Right.
Yeah, there used to be, yeah.
But
Because this ain't-
is that the one, Mike, that then connects to, the one that goes to North Lake? There's a drain in that.
Sorry, let me
tub.
try to do this first, if I even
I
have
guess what
it.
I'm trying to figure out, the difference between, there's the line that goes to nowhere,
Right,
okay? But then you're saying that there's a connection from the basin, the catch basin to the north.
yes.
But that's downstream. If we go to the very beginning of it, I read a report today that said that some of the stuff west of our side of Cleveland Avenue is connected in some way into our system. And there was talk in there about it going from large to smaller pipes when it should be the reverse. Does that ring a bell, Mike? You wrote it, the report, and there's some water coming in from the Huntington area, I guess.
Yeah, when this kicks up,
Connecting to, it's connecting now.
If we need the
I
remote.
like
If you do it right,
I like to
and you
start
don't
at the
need the
beginning
remote.
of the pipe, not
But
the end of it.
if your computer complains, then it might have to crash and.
Do you have a temperamental computer? Does it complain all?
it's complained a lot.
It's tech talk, it's old fashioned.
We will be making sure, just so you guys know, on Friday, that all of this stuff is working for Monday's meeting.
That's right.
We will be doing it Friday.
Well, that's what I'll have to reschedule.
No, it'll be done Friday. That way, if we have problems, we can redo it on Monday.
What I don't get is,
And actually, we may go ahead and set up the desks and stuff tomorrow.
where's Nancy, so this,
He's on Wi-Fi.
Usually what happens is someone has to change the input.
That's what I thought.
If you have the remote, you can change the input.
That's okay. Brian will come right now.
Now you know why I asked
And
for
we
a
can keep talking and
chalkboard.
then we'll pull the map back up.
That's why I asked for a chalkboard, Mary.
Yeah, we wanna see the map. Okay, yeah, I need it in the server closet, because now we need the remote for the TV, and I guess there's probably in the drawer too. Sorry,
So I
is
guess
there
I'm not
a server
understanding why
key
would there
somewhere
isn't
else
some
that I
kind
might
of a
have?
connection, that we
All right,
talk about the
thank
pipe
you.
that goes to nowhere. But
Very
then,
good.
not much further down the line, there's another line that goes to the North Lake.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be starting to talk about making that connection?
Actually have that to discuss.
Well, that's what we're here for, Tony, to get that fixed.
I'm gonna try to.
How are we gonna fix it if there's no pipe? We gotta install one. But there is a connection to Columbus where that tub is. I think it's the tub. The drain at the top of the tub is the one that Mike just mentioned that goes from Columbus to the one that's a part of the East Shore.
Right.
Concern.
North Lake.
And if that tub fills up before it flows into that drain, that's a lot of water. I've never seen any water in it.
In the tub?
No, but when the guy was dumping the paint in there with the pump and the whole lake turned white, that's where he was dumping it into, that tub. He was pumping it into there thinking somehow or other he could just dump it there.
Columbus has got a little pump, or somebody's pumping water out of a manhole of some type, right where the rehab center sign is at. And that's where I see Columbus regularly in that manhole.
You're right.
And just the other day, I noticed that there's a real little sump pump. It's got a little pipe, just a real little hose, but it's pumping water out of that. And that's what makes that puddle on Cleveland Avenue.
Really?
Right in front of Miller Rainey, that
Yeah.
puddle that's always there. That's coming from a pump where Columbus is pumping water out of a manhole. Right there where the sign is at for the rehab center.
That's crazy. I had no idea.
Well, I'd
Well,
like
it's a little hose. It's only like this big.
in the beginning, I'd like to initially focus at the start of the thing up there at Cleveland and
Well, that's what we're talking about.
right.
Do
But when I went up there in the storm,
you know of another plumber?
there was, enormous amount of water. It just didn't equate to me how that much water could be there if it's only coming from Yasmin Market and the little health building next door. I looked to see if it was flowing down that north
And we may not do
land
it, so
way, and I
during COVID,
couldn't see
during
that.
That'd be
COVID,
the sewer,
we
you know, the
got
sewer
a water
line from
fountain,
Cleveland
a
Avenue.
touchless water fountain.
Well,
And so
there's
this
a
one has
report
old, and
that
it
I
was
read, and
COVID.
it was on the phone.
And we're just gonna go with, I
have
asked
to
to
bring
make
it
sure
up.
that it was the
But
correct one. and
basically,
we
Mike
hired
had
them,
written
told,
this
"Go ahead and
report where
order
they
it,"
had
because
looked
it would
into
work.
this under Cleveland Avenue.
$685
And there
to
was a
install.
number of
So we'll just keep
connections.
it for the new
Uh,
building.
One,
That is
it
the
said,
case.
went
Can't return it.
west of there.
Quality is
But it
the
was
one
a
I
large
use. I
pipe,
really like less
and it was
quality
then,
company.
goes through an apparatus and becomes a smaller
Right, I don't
pipe.
wanna spend $600
Which shouldn't
installing
happen.
something.
But I don't know where that,
Okay.
does that ring a bell, Mike, this report that I read today?
Probably have a better
Oh.
idea, but it's gonna cost.
About a large pipe coming across Cleveland,
Yeah.
underneath
That means
Cleveland,
it
and then going to
If
a
you-
smaller pipe and
well,
into our
if you
system.
send me a
Yes.
number, then I would just leave it in mothball.
Yeah, I'm not paying that.
What would
to
be the
install
source
it.
of
I'm
such
not.
huge quantity of water that accumulates so
No.
fast?
Well, I just, I mean, are we,
$200-$300 is one thing.
Fascinating.
are we,
No.
I'm just asking you.
no, I'm not trying to be rude, but I mean, if,
What?
no, I just, if,
Okay, we need to go in some, we just need to go into some kind of order. Can we?
well, no, I just want,
Or something.
I just wanna
Well,
Check
know,
we're
the
trying to
one thing-
we're
Are
trying to
we-
focus on Cleveland, Yasmin
No,
Market, and
okay.
Cleveland
Well,
Avenue.
yeah, Cleveland Avenue and Yasmin Market is not what we were just talking about, which is Northlight Plaza. We're saying that there's no mystery about the water that comes down from Northlight Plaza and goes to
I will answer
one question.
what questions you guys want, just someone,
Keep it in some sort of an order. Well, maybe we could do it this way, and correct me if I'm wrong. What is this meeting about? What are we trying to establish? Is it, and I'm just asking, is it, because originally it was,
There's massive flooding, as you know. We're
Right.
trying to determine in the very beginning what the source of it is.
And so all the work that Mike's done so far,
Did you find it?
Now,
no, we need.
obviously, you could put a giant pipe there and the water would flow downhill and go away, but
but all of it, Mike
where's
is
it coming
a,
from? At the very beginning of the storm sewer, there's that huge lake there that you know about, right by your house.
Right.
But I went up
I
there
don't
in the
know where it's
last
coming
storm, and I couldn't believe how fast that filled up with water.
so
So I
are
don't
we,
believe the water has to be coming from somewhere other than just the Yasmin area.
so we're saying we're okay on the East Shore Court thing. We're
I don't
moving
think
forward
we're
on
I
that.
mean, no, and
So
this,
that's okay, I just am confirming.
in my
Moving
opinion.
forward and that's all, and it was okay.
Here's how I'm gonna say this, in my opinion, council has already approved to move forward with I have no idea. Has already decided to put the East Shore Court, once we get the final documents out to bid and see where we are, and then council's either gonna move forward or they're not, once we get the final documents. So in my opinion, that's a separate project and it's already totally moving along, and once we're ready to put it out to bid and get the final documents, we'll discuss it, but
yeah, so.
Yeah.
I don't
do
feel
you-
like this is that conversation.
But do you want
No,
me to
it
give
is.
you a quick update on East Shore Court?
If you guys want a quick update while we're getting, oh, he's already got it.
Real quick. Put the key back in the folder, put it back in there, and,
Lock it up.
yeah, because the key is in the drawer, in the keyhole right now, so.
Okay,
Do what you gotta do.
will do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, it turns out the scale of things, the East Shore problem is nothing compared to the one going down Jordan Avenue. Now that
It's
I've-
what? It's what? You said
The
it was.
stormwater that piles up behind the residences on the north side of Jordan Avenue, it is significantly worse, the water problem there than it is at East Shore. Although
up there.
I agree with Tiffany that East Shore is not, the conversation, but if we start at the beginning,
East Shore, could I, before we go
Not
here,
the meeting.
could I just have an update on East Shore real quick, like 5 minutes? And then
Yes.
we'll go back on this brand new, this refresh topic of where the water's coming from, which we don't have an answer.
Alright, so our documents are basically 99% done. I gave them to the cost estimator today to get an updated cost estimate.
Perfect.
So that then we'll take, it reflects the current design. And then while we're trying to figure out what to do with this additional easement that we need, because we can't move forward with bidding the project without the easement.
Okay, so there's a house that is in foreclosure.
Which project are we talking about?
Okay, we're talking about East Shore for a
This is a
second.
5-minute review of East
So
Shore.
the issue that has
I
now
don't need
come
the
up
5
is,
minutes, I need the, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
okay, so the thing that is the issue, that you guys don't know is there's a house in foreclosure. And so we can't get we're working on trying to figure out a way to get an easement from this property, and Eric has been talking to Jesse to try to go a roundabout to get an easement to be able to do the East Shore Court project, because as of right now, that is an issue. We can't get in there.
Is it the house
It's
where the pipe
Mayor
goes
Eisentraut
from
told me there was an
Park Lane to-
easement there.
It's up here on the screen. So what's shaded in red is the existing easement between 5336 and 2839. So this is 2839. This is 5336. What's shaded in red is existing easement.
But the pipe doesn't go through.
So the existing pipe actually stays in the easement because whenever it got installed with bends. So the existing pipe actually kind of goes like this, which that's not how you would install it. Like, we would not recommend doing that. So we recommend a straight shot.
I see.
It's the most cost-effective way to do it. If we do this straight shot, we're now out of the existing easement. So we need this much easement right here, this green triangle. Or it's not a triangle, it's really like a crazy parallelogram. We need this green shape right here to do this.
Gotcha.
The alternative, which is more capital cost to the village, is we rotate this blue pipe clockwise and we put another manhole like right here and then turn this way. But that's more cost for the village because it's another structure.
Right.
So
I suggested that to the mayor last week.
well, I mean, it's
The people that live there have the idea that with the main, storm sewer all the way from Cleveland down to North Lake, that they'll be talking about it for the next 10 years and never build anything. And so on the East Shore thing, they're complaining about when the amount of fill that's going in there, which changes the kind of the geography of their yards. And they're saying, why can't they just put a catch basin in there and run a line over to the storm sewer? That's what they asked me.
well, we could do that, and then they'd have a.
But that's what you were just saying.
They'd have a big bowl in their yard. So do they want a big bowl in their yard,
Well,
or do they want?
I just built a big bowl in my
or
yard.
ground that slopes like gradually. I mean,
I have
to
a
me,
big bowl in my yard I don't want.
To me, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if the residents are upset enough
The
that
new
they don't
neighbor
want it,
there,
Is that
he
the-
just wants the flooding control. If they were to put a bowl in there, I don't think he would object. I mean, a catch basin with a grate.
but
Could a catch basin,
Okay,
could that kind of thing be put in only in the easement, the catch basin?
well, I mean,
No, that's a
This
different.
is
Hold on,
really,
time
we're
out.
really going backwards,
That's a
right?
yeah. Where are we?
Yeah,
I apologize for sounding frustrated, but like,
Yeah,
where
no.
are we talking at this point? Who's asking for a? There's two parts to this project. There's the East Shore Court properties, which are off the screen, and then there's this part. So I mean, who's asking for
No one's at, that's.
which one of these houses is the green one is, the one with the green is the one that's in
The-
foreclosure?
This property right here is in foreclosure.
And what address is that?
I'm sorry.
Address is that?
5336 Park Lane Drive. They are in foreclosure.
This is my dumb question, and all I'm trying to do is, the one right next to it is the one that says his house is sinking.
Correct.
All right.
Because I knew that this is, so, and I'm gonna say this, and Joe, do not take this wrong. This is one of the more important pipes that I feel like needs some attention. This guy is, and he has done a lot of work on his particular property. His flower beds are all caving in this way and this way. I'm going to wonder as well if this pipe is not so muffled that,
This pipe doesn't function.
yeah, so this
Well, is
pipe
there a
could
bunch
potentially
of
be causing
uprights in
issues
it?
Yes.
to someone's
Yeah, I
home.
mean, that's why he's got sinkholes in there,
Correct.
because it's eroded away and
Right, well, he's on the verge of,
So how do we get,
And it's the flow.
get pissed.
It's
No.
He's passed out.
Yeah. It's the pipe that carries the roadway drainage
From pretty much the
from Jordan Road, from Cleveland Avenue, all the way down Jordan Road to the east.
Right.
From Park Lane Court, all the way to Park Lane Drive, all of that front running flow that flows to the street and all the street drainage comes to this pipe. And this pipe is undersized and broken. So
You're talking about the one that goes from Jordan over to the other pipe, or to the, where the head wall will be.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is everybody up to speed on this?
I just,
Well-
all I wanna know is there anything else so we can, I mean, if it's about calling someone once a day and asking what the status is.
Well,
Of
during
the
this last-
foreclosure,
I've been
Well-
on the phone ever since, you can't get anybody to even call you back at this point.
yeah.
Yeah,
They-
so it's
in pre-foreclosure is the problem.
we're giving, so I submitted the documents today to our cost estimator because that's gonna be, we've changed the project significantly from when I last talked to you guys about it. What we did is we focused on reducing that concrete head wall.
That's
So we redid some grading, so people are gonna have different grading in their yards, so that instead of a giant concrete
ugly thing.
retaining wall with the pipe, concrete over the pipe, and we're gonna have what's called it's basically a half wall, it's called an end wall. So it doesn't cover the whole pipe, it's lower. And then you grade, you'll see a little bit of pipe exposed at the end as it goes into the wall. And then that reduced the amount of concrete by probably 60%.
And we have a lot of residents objecting to that.
Objection.
Get
Joe,
that
let's
on
just
the record.
stop. Just stop, Joe.
Uh,
I mean, you keep talking about all the residents, I understand that people are upset about this, but
Are the people upset? They
Well, they're gonna
should
do
be.
something about it, and I don't know why you're interrupting the meeting to try and counteract what I'm trying to say.
because you keep bringing up the
I
same
went
thing.
up last week when it was pouring down rain as hard as it could, and I walked the entire route. There is no water piling up where Mike just mentioned on the pipe that he says is broken that comes across. It was flowing just fine. All the
Okay.
water was flowing up
This is a guy that lost his
Park
car right
Lane
there.
Place, and it was flooded, and the water's all coming from north of there.
Okay, I'm
Now,
just gonna
I'm just
tell
saying
you-
where the water's coming from.
Right, but I'm gonna tell you, they lost a car right here.
They
That
what?
was, yeah, there was 2 to 3 feet of water inside the car. So this is an
Yeah,
issue.
in
Okay.
the previous time, what I'm saying is what I
No, I'm
observed.
saying within the last 2 years.
Well, yeah, last week, I'm talking about what I personally observed in a heavy downfall. Now, there's heavier rain that would overwhelm it there.
Yeah, I was surprised.
But it flooded
that-
seriously, even a small amount of rain, at the end of Park Lane, Place, or Court, I mean. And there's a number of houses there that every time it rains, they can't get out of their driveway.
Correct.
So I'm trying to point out that's a problem area. It seemed to clear real quick when it stopped raining, so I don't know that.
Yeah, that section does drain pretty quickly once it does quit raining. It's just a lot of rain, it just like overwhelms it. I would agree with that.
But water that from Cleveland Avenue, the part that we're talking about, where the line disappears in the north, that water flows into Jordan Road, all the way down Jordan Road in a runoff.
Okay.
And so a significant amount of the water that's going into Jordan Road is coming from that broken pipe north of there.
So I just wanted to say, not to discount anything you said just now, Joe, is that I was looking for a 5-minute update on East Shore Court, and that's what Mike was trying to provide. And so just to wrap that up, to make sure we have a good transition, I was asking about the 5336 Park Lane Drive, which is the green spot, which we're waiting for an easement on for that particular project. And so Tiffany has, at this point, she's saying that they're doing everything they can do. That's the answer I needed.
Yep.
And so now I'm ready to move on to an area that Joe apparently feels is even more critical than this one, however.
And just real quick, I'm working with legal and planning because there may be some other easements that the village might
Correct.
want over there, so we're trying to consolidate the effort of someone if there are other easements that the village wants to get over there for
Other
other
projects.
projects, we might try to have a surveyor go out there and do it one time. So we're coordinating that scope, but that's where we stand, so.
Okay, and then is there anything about eminent, what is it?
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain.
Right there, because it's critical for the infrastructure of the village?
That I don't know. I know that legal and planning were originally discussing a specific type of it's called. You call it a take.
Yes.
It's like you just take.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what it is. You take land. They were discussing a specific type of take that, upon further review, I don't think is allowed in the state of Ohio. So they're now looking at a different way to potentially quickly get an easement.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So that's the East Shore Court update, and I'll be quiet, and Joe?
Well, they're connected, Diane. My point is that there's an immense amount of water that comes from, starts at Cleveland Avenue, and there's what we were just talking about, the storm sewer that goes behind the residences on the north side of Jordan Avenue. And a lot of that water is the water that is coming into Jordan Road that is then overwhelming things at the end. So if that were, what I'm trying to point out is if and when we get that repaired up there, there's gonna be a lot less water entering Jordan Road. That was my point.
But-
So if we wanna size pipes right now, allowing for the water that's coming from up there, then when we fix it, it's kinda overkill.
Well,
But the water does pour from behind all those houses.
Yeah, no, I
down
walked that
Into
too.
the street.
But I'm confused. You said that there was the pipe that goes behind the houses. I thought there wasn't.
Well,
That's what I'd like to,
there
thought there
had
was
to have
just
been
a
one at one
swale.
time. I don't think anybody builds a pipe and just dead ends it underground partway down there.
we've got one.
Well, we got one now, but I was told they couldn't find the rest of it.
Yeah, and
Not that it wasn't there.
Jean McCall, I guess this is an old story, but Jean McCall told me she's on that.
Park Lane.
Jordan. She's off of Jordan. It goes Jordan, Park Lane. Is that-
Park Lane
yeah.
did the
McCall's
very
live on
back.
Park Lane.
Park Lane.
Court.
Court.
I think, right?
Court, right. And she told me
They're
that.
almost at the dead end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she told me that a bunch of, we were talking to another neighbor that's been there forever, and they said that originally the neighbors got fed up with the flooding in their backyards, and they all pitched in and put in a
French
drainage pipe and running along the back of the properties, and this may have been before they became part of their park. Remember, they were.
That part was annexed at one
They were
time.
annexed.
Yes.
I hung out with that when it was pouring down rain.
And- but
It was
that
heavy
didn't-
rain. The water pours from the rear of those
No, I know
houses
that, I know it does.
through their yard into the street.
I agree.
It's eroded their yard down to the point the tree roots are all exposed. But if they built a pipe back there, I couldn't see it.
Oh, I
Certainly
think-
didn't seem to be taking the
Tony, do you
water
wanna sit?
out.
Huh?
I said, do you wanna sit over this way?
Who knows where the pipe started and ended that the neighbors put in? I'm sure it was whatever neighbors went in on it. and
Well, but basically,
Where they had it discharged.
Tomorrow, I will get
the
back
big
on the phone.
picture is,
I just got a
we
different
need
phone
to
number from
repair
somebody
this
from
line that
Quincy
goes
again,
from
a
Yasmin
different,
Market down
from a
to
different realtor.
North
We
Lake,
can't-
including
For
East
foreclosures.
Shore.
We can't find
So
it.
I'm gonna see if I can reach
Well,
out
I
to them
know,
tomorrow,
but
cause I've been
We
talking to
can't
my.
find it.
What I said is we need to repair
They
that.
I keep asking them to call me, they won't call me,
We
but I
can't-
tell
we
them
can't
that the
repair
grass
it,
is
we
done in
can't.
24 hours.
You can put in a
So
new
it's like,
pipe.
it's.
That's
it's-
called,
I
that's
feel
what
like it's
I'm
just so in
referring to
limbo
as
that they're
repair.
not, no.
Is there any way to?
No, I have
Well,
somebody
that's
wants
the
to
only
buy
way to solve the real
cash,
problem.
and she said that she would give us the easement immediately, and we can't even get them to respond to a cash offer.
There's one residence there on Jordan, you
Where
walk
would you-
past
which
it every
area?
day, Tiffany.
The
The woman
northern
has a
part.
yard, and she has
Like this
drainage
part right here?
underneath all of it.
Yeah.
There's a
Well, there you
waterfall
go.
coming
See,
out
that's
of
what
it
I'm-
into the street.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to
There's
talk
And
about.
she was peeking through the curtains when I went by, like,
We can have-
who's gonna catch
get
me?
to it.
Who's gonna catch me with my drainage?
Okay, where do we wanna go now?
Yep.
How do we approach solving that problem north of, along the boundary, north of Jordan Road, from Yasmin Market down to North Lake?
If you're looking at what, at 170 there?
Yeah, so can we first just kind of step through what we think is there?
Right,
Okay,
on
so,
Cleveland, I'd like to start on Cleveland where these other confusing pipes are that nobody seems to figure out.
no, we have the pipes figured out coming under Cleveland.
Okay,
So, let's start in this area here. So, the village gets flow from the west side of Cleveland Avenue from the city of Columbus. I believe the main contributor to what comes over is what is now Huntington/Coda, was Meyer. Their parking lot drains to the south along Cleveland Avenue. Then I believe, I can't remember if the Ivywood Apartments tie in, I don't know why I'm pointing, you can't see me pointing. I don't remember if they tie in down here or if they contribute to this part also, but the village gets a significant amount of water from Columbus into this system,
Okay.
okay?
That's
So,
that's what I've been trying to say since the beginning. But
Now-
does that account for the huge amount of water that you just pointed the arrow right behind Yasmin Market? It accumulates there in a huge flood, very fast.
I mean, I can't tell you where every drop of water comes from.
Well, I mean, your
But-
guess, I'm not trying to pin
but-
it down.
I mean,
Yes.
that's the biggest, I mean, there's not that much area for rainwater to fall. There's not much opportunity for water to come from Northland Plaza there.
Exactly.
And there's not a lot of water coming from Jordan Road to the north, so.
And it can't
my
be coming
sus-
from Yasmin
my
Market, this
sus-
has been an issue.
Well, it can
Well,
be
when
coming.
you, but I guess,
There's a lot of groundwater there's a lot of groundwater when I walked it, where the nursing home is.
Yes.
Okay. I walked it when I
And
was
the-
pouring it, I walked the nursing home, and the water just pours off of all those surfaces and adds to the Jordan Road.
We don't have anything to work with in here. But you just had the pointer right here behind Yasmin Market, that little area right there.
right here,
Yes. Right, well, behind there. There's huge flooding there, and it continues on all the way down.
Okay, well-
But it starts right away. So now that we know there's a lot of water coming from the other side, that explains it to me, part of it at least.
well, I mean,
How does that?
I'm not trying to say do anything, I'm trying to understand what the problem is.
But if there's sewer line, if there's a sewer line that's been viewed and it's clear,
it's not,
it's not clear.
it's
Okay.
broken.
It's broken. So the sewer line from across Cleveland Avenue, it's broken.
No, from Cleveland Avenue into the village, it's good,
Good.
it's good.
It's good.
And it breaks at,
Right where right where my hand is.
Where the green line is, isn't that
Is that-
intact
Okay.
sewer and then it dead ends about where
Okay.
the line ends?
No,
so if we were to, no, squiggle your hand, cause we can't see it real well. So he's right there right now, and he says that's where it's broken. Right
That's
there.
where a huge amount of water is flooding, but now we know we're getting it from Huntington.
but if I may,
That's
the
where it's
source,
coming from.
well, the source of the water, until today, I never knew that the source of the water was in dispute. I mean, that's always been, at least in the conversations I've had,
Yes.
that it's
Yeah.
always coming from the west side of Columbus. I mean, the west side of Cleveland Avenue. With flow contributing from Yasmin Market. I mean, Yasmin Market contributes to it. It's a
Yeah,
it's
this
a paved lot and a big building.
But
this is a new endeavor we're engaging in, to try and
Joe, it's
figure out.
new, it's not, this is
So-
the
so
frustrating
this-
thing, Joe, is that it's not new to us, it's new to you, where these aren't things.
That's
that
not
are
what
being-
I'm talking about, Tony.
All
It's
right.
not new to me,
Well,
not at all
can we
new to
follow
me.
down the line for
Yeah, let
people?
me,
And if you're the expert on this, why doesn't it work?
let me get this drawing because it's a little more developed than the first drawing. Because we've got more information
Since,
since then.
right,
So
there we go.
this
Yeah.
this line, okay, these are the lines that come from Cleveland Avenue. Now there's something kind of odd going on there where there are two lines coming under Cleveland Avenue, and there's a reduction in pipe size. So it goes from a larger size to a smaller size, and then back up to a larger size. I'm not sure why it does that, but that's the hand that we're dealt, so that's what happens. We have,
Does that cause flooding in the Cleveland Avenue?
I don't think it's significant enough that it's causing anything. It's odd, but it's not like it goes from a 30-inch pipe to an 8-inch pipe, it goes down like 1 pipe diameter. So I mean, it's just different. It's odd. Then this pipe comes through here. So now we've discussed this multiple times. There are drainage structure numbers assigned to these. We are going to remove those and take them out of your inventory because they're not your pipes. So for example, this, to the best of our knowledge, so like this pipe right here, you know, is parking lot pipe. This pipe back here is alley drainage.
Right.
It's our understanding that those are owned by this property owner.
Okay.
So we're gonna look at removing those from your inventory, meaning
You're gonna renumber them?
we'll keep the information, but it won't show up on your maps anymore as if it's your responsibility, right?
Well,
No.
the water that it takes out of the parking lot, is it gonna change the routing, what you're talking about?
No, they're just changing the numbers.
No, we're just taking it out, like, we're not physically taking
Okay,
it
I
out. We're
understand.
just
I
deleting
understand.
the row in the spreadsheet, basically, is a clunky way of saying it. This pipe, now the village expended its money to be a good citizen, a good neighbor, to try to keep things moving with the shopping center owner, and televise these lines. Okay? We know, and we've known for a while, that this segment here between structure 204 and 206, the pipe is basically gone. There is no top of pipe in this segment here, starting roughly 75 feet downstream of structure 204. And then we don't know how far that extends because when Flowline tried to come in from storm structure 206 and go upstream, this is so full of large diameter roots, like 1 to 1.5 inch diameter roots, that they can't even get a camera through there. They can't jet it. And there are so many joint deflections, basically the pipe is separated, that they can't even get their root cutter down in there to cut the roots. So basically, this pipe here is not really doing much of anything.
So that needs to be replaced.
From 204 to 206.
Okay, so first question is, whose responsibility is that?
It is the village's legal counsel's interpretation, and has been for multiple years, that that pipe is
Not ours.
not the village's responsibility.
Okay, so is everybody on board with the fact that tomorrow morning I'm going to send Jesse a message that that line, they have 60 days, 90 days to get it fixed? Like, I'm not even joking.
Start the process.
That's what I'm
whatever,
saying,
yeah.
you know, on a recording, like, I'm done, like, this is going to happen.
It needs
But
to
I
be
wanted those
replaced.
words from you to make sure, and I know that you're, you know, with legal going and, you know, understanding it may be a fight, but if our legal team is saying that it is their pipe,
They need to
then I'm
replace
done.
it.
I thought I remember Gene saying that aren't there new owners and they were receptive to doing
No,
something?
that's the next door neighbor, because they're also having issues, that's a totally separate
Okay.
topic, but to, the real quick
Yeah.
thing,
So-
they're having their own little civil thing.
But I think, if I'm not mistaken, these owners, I think this is 5454
Yes, it is.
Cleveland Avenue.
Mhm.
I think they, if I remember legal counsel's interpretation, they are the ones who technically own the pipe and then granted this property owner permission to tie into the pipe.
Correct.
So I think between the two of them,
They're gonna have to
they
figure it
have
out.
to sort out who's
See,
responsible
it's all
for it.
starting to come
But-
together for me here, okay?
But
I think we just need to do
ultimately,
this 30
the
times.
missing section, if everything was ideal, it would be Columbus would come in and replace that.
No, because it's your sewer.
It's not.
Okay,
Let's
so,
go further down.
pipe 204, you definitely think, the line from 204 to 206,
Is-
Yasmin Market should, that
That
should
is-
be their responsibility per Jesse,
That
if
is
Jesse
legal
still.
interpretation.
And
And
then-
does their responsibility stop at 206? Or is it
Um,
somewhere?
That I'm not 100% sure of, and I don't
But ask
recall
Jesse.
seeing that in
Okay.
Gene's email string previously. He
Okay.
did provide some documentation that showed.
And I have it.
Showed how
Okay.
like an old, kind of like an old plot plan.
Yeah.
That showed the easement wording.
Yes.
And it was brought
it's-
in.
Yeah, and this property owner contests that.
Correct.
They disagree with that assessment, and that's where it's been sitting
Gotcha.
for a while.
So then going down past
Yeah,
206.
going past 206.
Okay, now, the ownership of that line, I'm not sure. And I don't think anybody can definitively say because there really is no documentation on this line. So that's the problem we have with this line.
Okay, so now that we started
Write this
206.
down, 206.
Is, when you use the word line,
Sewer, this sewer.
this sewer from,
From
is
206.
is this sewer from this point, or this whole sewer, or this, isn't this one sewer, is this one sewer line from 20?
Well, I mean, when we
I
this
just wanna make sure I
segment,
understand.
From storm structure, from structure STM 206
Okay,
to the east.
okay.
There is no documentation available for that.
Who owns it?
Yeah, well, just for anything,
It's in
even
the,
if it exists.
it's in the boundaries of Minerva Park though.
It is within
But you
the
gave it, you
village
gave it a green line.
limits.
You gave it a green line.
Well, that line, so the reason it's a green line is because when we asked Flowline to go out and look at this, this is what it looked like at the time. This little stub right here. And we said to Flowline, our survey information indicates there is a sewer leaving that manhole in that general direction. We have no survey information anywhere downstream of that shows a sewer meeting in it. So can you please do what you can to identify as much of that pipe segment as you can find?
And this is the one that
And
runs
so,
down into
so
Edge.
that green line is what you
Which
could
resulted
find?
in this. So they put their equipment, their crawler, into the sewer, and it can ping. And so they walked with it, caught its locations, marked it for us with flags, and they could only get it to go this far.
So,
That's like Eddie's.
so before that, they couldn't even, going to the west from 206, they couldn't even do the camera because there's so many routes.
Correct.
Right.
But going to the east, they could,
They could.
okay.
And just so you know, like where 204 is, this is irrelevant, but that is all trees and debris. But once you get to my backyard, like right there, there's not one tree until you start getting down here. Like I don't have a tree, that's the church driveway, they
What's
don't have
the
any
red
trees.
line that goes past that?
So that's like part 2. So this highlighted, you can see this is highlighted. That was the city of Columbus's, it's like when Jim Arthur sent us information, he asked, do you have CCTV information for this? Or when will you be getting it? I said, we have it, we actually did it last year. He's like, oh great, so we exchanged information. So then he said, do you know where it goes after that? I said, we have no idea where it goes after that, Jim. Nobody knows. So before I get into the red line, what we attempted to do when Flowline was out here was Flowline dumped a significant amount of dye into structure 206. Then that dye will come out somewhere, and then we know there's your connection point. We never found dye. We found no dye at all. No resident said, hey, I have dye coming out in my backyard. No resident said, hey, there's dye popping out of a curb inlet in front of my house. No resident said, hey, there's dye coming into my house, like if there happened to be a cross connection with the sanitary sewer. All of these basins farther to the east, so there's, sorry, this is difficult because there's an image on top of an image. There's a thin basin, I think, back in here, and then there's this thin basin over here. No dye appeared in this basin or this basin. No dye appeared over here. No dye appeared in the North Lake. Just no dye appeared. So we truly have no idea where that line goes.
So how do you like that answer?
So Columbus, as we were exchanging information, they said, hey, when this Northland Plaza project was built, the Columbus codes their storm sewer drawings with what's called a CC number, and you produce CC drawings. This project was assigned number CC5537. So when project CC5537 was built, that's all these blue lines that Columbus superimposed on our map for us to see where everything matched up. If you look at this CC drawing, which they were nice enough, oh darn it, they were nice enough to put in here for us, and I have the full set. There's a notation in here. So when the Northland Plaza people built this basin back here, see there's this whole long, thin basin, and it has a pooling end here and a pooling end here. There was a note on the drawing about an 18-inch storm sewer that got intercepted by this new structure right here, and it says 2 remain. Now what happened is I accidentally moved this picture a little bit. So Jim said, hey, do you think maybe somehow this line that disappears is actually the continuation of this 18-inch line here, and then it ties into this catch basin? And I said, it seems like a reasonable guess. I mean, we have no documentation that shows that. I don't think Flowline specifically looked in this drainage structure right here to see if any dye showed up there, but
Is that part of ours?
nope. This is part of the Northland Plaza.
And that empties into that catch basin?
Yeah. Actually, no, it continues. I think it actually continues south of the catch basin. I mean the detention basin.
Where does that water ultimately go?
It looked like it was it looked like it was going right into backyards and.
Well, no, so this is
Looks
that.
like.
This is the potential 18-inch line that we were talking about, 18-inch diameter line. They put in a new structure here to intercept it, and then they routed it to this manhole right here, and then all this flow from Northland Plaza comes into this detention basin, and then this line intersects with this line, and then this line here continues east and becomes this line right here, which then comes down this way,
And that's what goes into East Shore
and then this
Court.
is the East Shore Court pipe. So all that Northland Plaza flow
If that
goes into the North Lake. So,
theory is true, if that's.
well, those pipes exist. I mean, we know
These
that.
pipe exists,
We know
right,
that.
right,
Yeah,
right.
we know that.
Right.
We know that Northland Plaza drains into those basins, and those basins eventually drain into the North Lake.
Okay.
We figured that out when a
Well,
guy
that's-
dumped paint in there and it
Seems
showed
simple
up
to
in the
me.
lake.
We need to get that line from 206 connected over to 170.
So,
Yeah.
what Flowline is authorized to do some CCTV work for 2021 storm sewer program.
Right. You guys authorized it last
Right.
April 14th.
What we are going to ask them to do is give us a price, because it's gonna cost money.
Right.
To see if they can do some additional. One thing that these televising companies, they don't, and I mean, you don't blame them, but they don't like to put their equipment in the pipes where they don't know where an exit is, because they're concerned it can get trapped. We're gonna talk to them about, hey, when you're out here, can you come over to this drainage structure and try to look this way and see what happens going west? And see if we can piece it together.
Yeah, because we're close.
When did you get this the information about the one, the 18 inches to remain? Just in the last month or?
About a month and a half.
Yeah, it's with the Columbus stuff.
See, this is, it's a slow process.
We got it about a month and a half ago.
But this is all, to me, it's slowly starting to make sense.
So so in order of things that we would recommend, the first thing is we think it's worth talking to Flowline about, hey, if you start at structure 206, are you comfortable pushing your camera farther east? Generally those things have about, depending on the equipment they use, some of their cameras can have upwards of 1,500 feet of tether on the reel. And then you can pull it back out. Now the trick is if it gets stuck and you pull it, it's, the cable's gonna come out and you just lost a piece of equipment. So they're not gonna do anything that they're not comfortable with. But I think we should ask them if they're willing to try a little bit farther from 206. We think it's worth asking them if they can start at this drainage structure in Northland Plaza, if they can get to it physically, and maybe look to the east. If we can't find anything then, the next step might be looking into something like some ground penetrating radar, where you can just come out with a cart. No, the ground penetrating radar, like an actual, it's a cart. It's what they use for the
underground.
It's what they use for the pavement condition assessment.
Okay.
It sends signals down and bounces up. Now, it's not always 100% accurate, but you can at least maybe
that's
identify that there's
after
something.
we try to get them to run the
Right. But what I talked with one of our sewer people this morning about this, and he said, worst case scenario is if you have a pipe here, and you have a pipe here, you might just have to run a pipe this way.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's where
Now, the trick with that is it takes coordination with the city of Columbus, because the city of Columbus and or the property owner of Northland Plaza, because we're discussing potentially tying into their system.
Well, they're tied into ours, right?
Yeah, but I don't think it's just.
Well, I'm not trying to
yeah.
for that. I'm just saying.
But just people get persnickety about letting people tap into their systems for various reasons.
And that's an 18-inch line.
Why spend any money to try to figure out what the problem is? We know it's not working.
Well,
yeah. Is the pipe size
obviously
sufficient?
there's a disconnect somewhere. But the
well, you could repair it.
exactly, like if we could find there's just this one busted area, and all of a sudden you're only replacing 20 feet or 50 feet of line versus this
300.
Well, and this, if this aerial is accurate, which it's all things are always dated, this is going to be brutal to do this. It's going to be a lot of clearing, and pretty much an entire swath of trees would have to come out.
Without being dumb, obviously, this is our sewer issue and our, which we're anticipating the fact that from line 206 all the way down. Ballpark, what are we talking if we literally had to do that entire thing? Are we talking 100,000, 500,000? Are you talking like in the millions?
I would say.
I know he's gonna hold you to it.
Yeah. No.
Well, my money. I'm just curious.
No,
are we talking?
is
this something?
No.
And I'm thinking. Literally, if we had to go.
I would say using East Shore Court as a guide, which is probably
Right.
approximately a $200,000 project,
Right.
this would probably be $300,000 to $400,000.
Okay.
I mean, we can,
That's
if
the
you
6 months.
authorize us, if you want us to do a planning level cost estimate, we could get you I mean, it would be the lowest
This
class,
is-
it would be
they're
like
done.
a class 5 estimate, it would be, I think a class 5 estimate is the range on it is -50 to +30%, so I mean, it's a pretty big swath, but I mean, it's
It's a rough idea.
yeah, it's basically like, hey, cost
So-
estimator, we have a manhole and a manhole and a manhole and pipe, and it's probably 8 feet deep, what do you think it's gonna cost? But I mean, it would get you, it would be a conversation piece.
So in general, and then again, I have lots of stupid questions, I know I'm recorded, and so it just is what it is. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we get Yasmin to fix, or, you know, we work with them to fix 204 to 206, and we decide, you know, we wanna get an estimate to do the rest of it. Obviously, you know, and I'm really gonna say this too, my backyard now floods, within feet of the garage, that's how much of my backyard actually floods.
And is this you?
Yes.
Right here?
Yep, so now I'm getting over 50% of my yard is. My next door neighbors lost all those trees are no longer there.
Right here?
Yeah, the apple trees are all gone, they're all dead. Then obviously it flows behind the church, and that's paved within the last several years.
It probably gets most of their parking lot, if it's getting
It
close
does.
to yours and.
Yes, so part of
They
this now
have some
cracked
drainage
and,
that goes to the front, but
yeah,
not
so,
much.
but I guess this is ultimately the question. Do we anticipate that will slow down a lot of the actual surface water if we were, I mean, is this going to reduce the amount of water in our backyards by X%? Is this something that it should reduce most of it? I mean, you still
it would be
have normal
100%.
water, I mean, you still have the normal drainage, because again, you do have a large parking lot, you do have, but do you believe, maybe I'm not saying it right, do you believe fixing that would fix some of our issues?
I think that would probably, without having ever observed it other than pictures and
Right.
videos, my suspicion is that would eliminate the vast majority of the problem. Because because this segment is broken, somebody,
Put in
I think we know
relief,
probably who,
a relief.
put in their own relief. So anything that would flow down here backs up and then comes in through here and then pops out this manhole
exactly what it
and this
does,
little
so.
relief.
Right.
And then I think this is the start
Of
of
the issue.
your
Above
overland
ground
flow.
water.
Now, I know
do
you
too.
guys call it Jordan Lake, but it's
We
right
named
there.
it Minerva River.
But no, it's right there. It's begging. It's the Jordan River. I mean, it's right there begging.
I observed personally exactly what you're saying last week.
It's right there.
Well, and
And-
the only issue that I have is I don't wanna be, and I've said this before, and I know, you know, this is not, I've had the issue well before I was on council, this has been.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I want to be the person to lead this is obviously a very expensive thing, it is completely damaging my yard and everybody
Well-
along, you've talked to my neighbors. So I'm leaving this up to you guys, how much you guys want to invest in it, and I will do the legislation, I will do all of that, but I don't feel, because it is my property that is extremely affected by this, I don't feel like I should be one of the ones to
Champion.
Okay.
champion this particular
I'm
thing, and
I wanna
so
jump-
I
I
just
wanna
want you guys to
jump in
understand
here.
that.
Every single
Proud to
resident,
sponsor this.
every single resident up there is, I had
I know.
conversations with a number of them
I
when
know.
I went
Well,
through
I'll be
there.
honest.
They stop me daily.
They're absolutely beside themselves. Now, when you get to Park Lane Court,
Right.
the water's actually eroded their lawns away, every place in there. Now,
I'll be honest, I'm more on board with the
It's not,
East
it's
Shore Court
100
project
times worse
now
than your house, Tiffany.
than I was before, because now I see where
Let
it's
them lead the
connected.
charge.
Now that
And that's
said,
the
I'm
thing
going
that I've always-
to be on the phone with Jesse tomorrow
Exactly.
about the first piece.
Let them,
There's water coming
let them
from
lead the charge. Go over there to the,
But I'm gonna warn you guys, there's gonna
Park
be.
Place Court and
attorneys.
ask them if they want the rest of their yards eroded and there's gonna be
They're
sinkholes.
not gonna cooperate,
Yeah.
100%.
Or you could go in there and look at it.
That's
The
why we're
people
so
on,
sad. This is,
It's just
that live in the
because
cul-de-sac
it has the
of
stamina
Park Place
on
Court,
stomach.
their yards are
Or sewage.
destroyed,
Well,
every
that
one of
part
them.
I
Has
know.
to be us.
And the water
That
pours
part.
in like Niagara Falls, like
sale.
Horseshoe
No.
Falls.
They're just retail, they
No,
don't.
we're not into it.
So is Flow Line coming out here for something else? You
They're
said?
doing,
Yeah.
you guys authorized the storm sewer to do like Kerwood and all that
Oh,
stuff. The
okay.
next section of
I don't-
storm is the only one we moved forward.
I
Yeah.
would put that at the top of the list.
So we sent
Yeah.
them the purchase order today
Yes.
I'm putting it
and
at the
asked
top
for
of the
them
list.
to let us know when we can get on their
He
schedule.
told me about, not this upcoming week, but he
But
thought in
I
2
think
weeks.
it's gonna be in a couple
Yeah.
of weeks, so, my recommendation is if they're here and they're amenable to it, and maybe
If
they
you had a
just,
rough
maybe they just
idea.
charge you like a little bit of, like 4 extra hours or something like that.
Do you have any idea, like, I mean, do you think that we budgeted enough for it, because we just did the estimate, or
Well-
would you do just like a small
I would just have
appropriation?
them, if
I-
not do something else. You know what I mean?
Take off a
Well,
street?
Or, yeah, or something.
If we
I mean,
replace the pipe instead
I
of
don't know
all
if
this
we could-
how much is the investigation
Well, you
cost?
can't
Oh,
just replace
investigation's
it
much
without,
cheaper.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
I'm speaking theoretically.
yeah, I mean, you're only spending, I mean, I wouldn't write the check, but you're only spending $21,000 for the
Okay.
sewer project, I mean, for the CCTV.
Yeah.
And our recommended annual allotment for, the sewers was
We might have enough in there just to do it.
$38,000, so I mean, you're doing less than
Okay.
what we would typically what we would normally recommend, so.
So everything's,
But that
everything's
also,
cool.
when they give a price, we also ask them to quote, we take the footage of the pipe, and then we take 20% of that pipe and assume that it requires heavy cleaning, which costs more than just
Right.
regular cleaning. And so a lot of times, they don't even use all of their money anyway,
That's what I was
because they
thinking,
don't
okay.
have all the heavy cleaning. So, we could do it a couple different ways.
Okay.
We could just ask them, hey, give us a daily rate
Okay.
to do this, to come back up here, what do you think it will cost? And then we could either wait and see how much heavy cleaning there is and then just authorize them to do it, or you could pass legislation to, I don't remember how much was in the legislation. And if
I
it's
don't
the
remember.
exact amount that
I
was in the
thought it
purchase,
was.
which is why
I always round up,
which
so
is-
I don't know, maybe I
yeah,
did.
which is why I always advocate, I know it's easy to say, but I always advocate that
I always round up, you guys know
council authorize generally 5% more
that. I usually do.
than the quote. You keep, the vendor, the flow line can't invoice any more than the purchase order is for. So even if you authorize them to say
Right.
$30,000, but the PO is only for 22, they can still only charge you 22 until you give them permission. It's for reasons like this, because
Pretty
now you have to go to council but we can, as part of our general engineering services agreement, if council is interested, we can put together a planning level cost estimate.
I think
What
that-
would happen if we just,
Well, why can't, it wouldn't be that long for us to wait on flow line, would it? To see
No,
if they can find
we-
something? Just do that first and,
well, we could, but I mean, if you wanna wait and see
They
what
have to
flow
agree
line
with us.
says before we put together that planning level estimate, and that,
What the planning level estimate would be to run a whole new line?
it would be to
Reuse?
just do this.
Um,
Like, it would just, what would be the worst case scenario, which is basically this
Running a
thing
new
here.
line.
I mean, I can't see that taking more than a few hours of work to put together the estimate. But I think,
These girls.
You want an estimate,
but,
Tiffany?
but I think what,
You want an estimate
For what?
for the worst case scenario, if they replace that line?
It's up to you guys.
a ballpark estimate.
but I think what we would do, to take the concept of that project further, we wouldn't just ignore all this property. Like, we would look at it and say, okay, if we're coming in and we're doing a sewer, is there some regrading that we should do?
I did it for 32,000, just so you know, so I do believe that I did round it up.
32,000, and their purchase order is for 29, so.
So I got a little bit in there. I
So
usually,
there's a
I round
couple-
everything up.
And I wouldn't foresee it costing more than probably $1,000 for them to spend an
Right.
extra day.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I agree with him. I
Now-
agree with that guy in it with the checker.
Pipe sizes, are we okay on that?
How so and where?
Well, the sections that are relatively okay or require only minor repairs or cleaning, those pipe sizes adequate to handle the amount of water coming into them? Now, I know they basically get bigger going downstream.
Are you talking what pipes are you talking?
Well, right up around Cleveland Avenue where Yasmin is, where we're getting, and then partway down there, we're getting some water from those are huge parking lots
I mean, they could,
at Northland Plaza and Huntington. They're huge.
right. They probably could be upsized. It seems, based on our calculations, it seems like they look to be handling the water well, but I mean, they could probably stand to go up a diameter maybe, but it wasn't a red flag in our
Blame it on
calculations.
global warming.
But I mean, the problem with it is, if, you know, as rough as this area will be, this area here, if you were to replace these pipes, would probably cost just as much as this one here. Because now you're getting into tight spaces, you're getting into pavement, it would be very expensive.
But that's owned by Columbus.
No,
No,
that's all
we
right.
think it's, legal counsel's interpretation is that
Yeah,
it's
okay.
owned by 5454 Cleveland Avenue.
I'm stoked. I think we made huge progress. Is there any
We
way
did.
you could send me whatever that drawing was of Northland Plaza?
I can send you the whole set if you want it.
Just, yeah.
Send it to
It's
all of
just
us,
a
just so we
bunch of
can see them.
It's
It's a push of a key, isn't it?
it's this guy right here. It's only basically 1.4 megabytes. It's an easy thing. I'll send you a PDF of it.
There you go. Yeah, I want to go back and say.
I need that also.
Yeah, I'll send it to the group. We did. Randall did after we talked to the city of Columbus and we saw.
We did not pass this, they have that on there.
Which
This
I'm
would
trying.
not
There's too many
pass.
files open.
This needs to
This
be
one.
out there.
After we talked to the city of Columbus.
And then all of these are missing cells.
Randall came out here to try to, he tried
was
to
trying to find
this.
That's what I want the drawing for, because
And then he was trying.
He didn't have any luck?
And he didn't have any luck. He was also, there's a sinkhole in someone's property that he noted one time over in this area. He was able to find it. I think if I remember correctly, what Randall said was, part of the problem is, you can tell the date of whenever this aerial was taken, and then the date of whenever this aerial was taken. I mean, it's, basically what Randall said is when he came out here, there are fences that prevented him from getting into people's backyards. And, we notified the police chief and the mayor, like, hey, we're going to have somebody out. If someone sees someone in the backyard, it's us.
Just Randall.
But also, like, when it gets into, like, having to go in through people's gates and stuff, like, But then also there's fencing on, I think, over here on the north.
Well,
You got trees in your backyard now.
So then you'd have to, like, go back up. So he couldn't find anything, and then plus there's just so much ground clutter, just leaves and everything that fall, that he said, I
Need a machete?
very possibly could have walked right past the manhole, but there was just so much stuff on the ground I didn't see it. He's like, I tried to kick stuff away where I thought it would be, but so I mean it's been an ongoing.
Well, like I said, in the last month, we got more information that's
Well, I would agree
key.
with what you just said, that we made great progress tonight.
I think so.
I don't know where you stand, Diane, but
Well, I'm glad to put that last little, I mean, I had heard most of it, except for the update on the last part. but just to go refresh on it was good. And I'm always about having a plan. And it sounds like we have some next steps or we've been working on next steps. And, you know, the thing that we're just.
Well, we got the bird's eye view of the ultimate solution also.
So to try to wrap all this up to get him out of here as soon as possible because he costs a lot of money. I'm just teasing, and it's bedtime. We had the resident at, we love you. 2620 Lakewood, him and I have been coordinating. This is a property that you went over there. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
That weird,
yeah.
The storm sewer comes up just to their house.
Possibly, yeah.
So we're gonna do a dye, whatever that's called, and she confirmed it today, 2 o'clock on Monday, it's totally fine.
Monday's okay.
So just so you guys know that it's on Lakewood and it's been an ongoing, we're getting out there, we're doing whatever. Also, you don't necessarily know this, but there's 2 storm drains completely clogged on Lakeland Court. And that's why I talked to Flowline. Don't worry, I wasn't going behind your back.
No.
I called Flowline to get them out there because they're completely clogged. There's no water getting down them, so they are going out there. But if you just wanted to make a note of it, just so you know that those pipes have been televised cleaned. The Lakeland Court is getting done. They were supposed to be out there today, so I'm hoping the rain didn't stop them. But
what
just
did they put down there?
both of them, I know. And you know what's funny about that is there's a rehab house being done right there. So I'm anxious to see what they come back and say is down there.
They're usually pretty good about. They're like wizards at it. Deciphering what's in
Exactly. Well, it's both.
Exactly.
There's-
Oh,
it's
that's
both.
that. Okay.
Well,
So
I can
there's
tell you
2
about
drains over
pouring
there.
grout down drains, not a good idea.
Yeah.
So the only other thing, so that both of those 2 things happened, and then last but not least, and I don't think that we really want to get into this topic, but the other area, and Tony, I know you're familiar with this, is I feel like we got some really good progress, is the Elmhurst West Bridge.
I was gonna.
I know, and I don't know that anybody wants to do that, but maybe next month we actually come down and say, okay, I think we all feel like Yasby Market, we need to coordinate with that, figure out what to do with that pipe, see a flow line, I think we've got a plan for next steps on this. We don't really have a next step on the West Bridge, Elmhurst.
I don't know how up to speed or what you know about.
He knows about it, but it's just I don't know that we've really tried to pinpoint like this.
We talked about the problem. The mayor updated me on some of the problems that are going on, and so now that we've sort of crystallized a plan on this, what I want to do is then I want to have someone in our company start going back through the research and seeing, okay, what sewers are really the villages? Are there sewers behind people's houses that are?
I'm pretty sure it showed up on one of the maps.
I think. Let me just pull up this one right here.
It showed up on the map, and the legend, the urban legend is that I think a former mayor lived there and put a drain from his backyard.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the problem is there's just no real good documentation, so we're trying to piece all this stuff together.
So that is something that you were going to take a look at then.
Yeah.
There we go.
Because we've done some
Is that on that
stuff
chart
in
right
this
there?
area here, and what this shows is I closed it. This is stuff that we've inspected. All these that have numbers associated with it. So we've done some inspection over there, but now it's the next step is, hey, are there some pipes behind people's houses that go one way or the other?
See, I was under the impression that those had been looked at.
I don't
maybe
know if
not
we've done
the one
anything
that goes
behind
up.
anybody's house, but we've done the street ones.
And the only thing that I would tell you is if that's a next step for Flowline, if we can get them to do anything like that, they will all be more than happy to cooperate because I usually get about it every single time there is a decent rain. I get pictures, including this week.
Have we started to talk about the the gutters to the curbs issue?
Yes, and I really wanted to kind of talk to council about that, and I know, we briefly, the house, okay, so you have Wildwood, obviously right here, and then you have Elmhurst and Westbridge. The house that sits on Wildwood that backs to the problem area has their gutters apparently just going right into the problem area. you know, how much is that contributing to the already issue? You know, and you gave me a good guideline, you know, when it rains for an hour straight, it should, you know, it could take a couple hours to drain. Are we talking like it's staying there for days, or are we talking, like this particular area does not drain in a few hours, that we are talking about. This is an area that I would say a good 24, 48 hours before it goes down.
Yeah,
So-
is it, you say this property?
I actually believe, no, it's the one, wait, am I right or wrong? No. So, wait, no,
Right.
yes, it is that one, in the top corner.
It eventually drains down
That
to where
one
East
or
Shore
that
is.
one?
Tony, which one?
Well, it's gotta be on the others.
Oh, yeah, no, it's that one, cause that's Gavin's house right there on West Bridge on this side, so yes, it's where you're, yeah, that, 100%.
Now,
I am told that all of their gutters are going straight into their backyard, no, it's not running out to the street, I'm told that it's basically running into the issue.
But that's, because that's facing Wildwood, right? So that's his backyard.
That's his backyard and their
he's raining
backyard.
Shame on him.
But no, it's common, it is decently common around here that a lot of people, no, maybe I shouldn't say a lot, but I have heard that there's several, quite a few.
I would venture to guess it's relatively common in the village because
Yeah.
for a lot of the village, you don't have curb and gutter.
Right.
So there's.
The areas, that's a good point, where there's curbs and gutters, that's the newer part, those are the parts that are run to the curb.
Usually that would run to the curb. I mean, that's the standard now, is
Right.
that you run it to the curb.
Well, our code
A lot
came in 1950.
Well, yeah,
I can't even imagine, I was sitting.
Ours is, I mean, I'll be the first to admit it's on recording, mine does not run to the curb and gutter because, again, we were annexed in, we didn't.
Right.
and
Well, in those houses, running it to the curb and gutter.
is a whole around. Well, and,
Well, we're
Well,
actually
for some
working
of
on it,
them.
no, I mean, that's something, we already have the stuff to do it.
and,
A lot of people in the East Shore area have it run into the storm sewer.
Or-
I had lines installed,
that goes back
there's
to
nothing
the East
that
Shore.
comes off of my roof that doesn't go to the street or in the back, goes, you know, underground to the storm sewer.
and a lot of people who do have street access, the backs of their house, a lot do run the opposite direction. Especially in heavily treed areas.
Well, I was thinking about what Tony was, I was watching the rain and, I'm thinking, cause I'm on creek, I have the creek for the backyard, so I'm thinking, what would that look like if I had to
Run
go
all
around to
yours
the
out
front? I just, yeah, we have a lot of trees.
It's
I
very shallow.
even-
You wouldn't even, I mean, it's super, I mean, think about where your house sits and then think about it has to come out above the street. That's how shallow that pipe is. I mean, it's on, you've probably installed some. I mean,
It's just barely
it's like
below the ground.
3 or 4 inches of cover basically.
There's another factor, and that is, in the area where I'm at, and I don't know about the other areas, but basically you get 4 inches down, it's all clay. It won't drain any water,
Yeah,
so
it
it
can't,
sits.
it can't absorb anything.
Right.
And then that pipe is super thin. It's the, I mean, what would you say? It's like schedule 10 maybe?
It's
mean,
1/16 of an inch.
It's very thin pipe, and it's very easy for trees to penetrate it, and those things clog up very quickly, so a lot of people just change the orientation of their outlet, so rather than have it go underground into a conductor, they just will sawzall that downspout off, put on a new piece of downspout that has a 90, and just shoot it out to the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody, yeah,
mean, for me,
fortunately,
that
we don't
holds-
have anybody doing that.
I had talked about starting to enforce the curb, but for me, it's like we need to enforce it for people that, where there's a problem. If you're
Right.
not creating a problem for
Like
your
mine, I'm so
neighbors,
far away from anybody else, mine's
then
not.
you just keep doing
Yeah.
what you're doing, like at your house.
Like in
I
your
mean,
property, it'll peter
you
out
shouldn't
before
have
it
to
even gets close.
Rerun everything
Right.
to the curb.
It's
Well, this should.
It's
I
a
would
challenge.
Solve your problem too.
I mean, and Minerva Park is
And all your
kind of
neighbors.
50-50 on basements, right? There's some houses, isn't about 50-50 basements, no basements?
I don't know, I
I
think
don't
most
know.
of them
I
have
think
to.
we got a lot of-
So then you have
Basements.
sump pumps.
A lot of
So,
people don't have.
I mean, like, usually when you have your downspouts go to the street, so does your sump pump. I mean, so
Supposed to.
a lot of
Supposed to.
people have their sump pumps shooting out into a backyard or a side yard. And if your houses are close together, depending on how your backyards abut each other,
Yeah.
I mean, this guy here probably has the minimum setback these probably are like the minimum setbacks allowed in the village, and their yards are
Yeah, and it's, their yard is,
shooting
it's,
right at each other, basically.
Well, yeah, and it's flowing into the neighbors.
Well, it's just amazing, you know, when you think about I have a hard turn and a gutter in the back, and I have a potting bench underneath it. And like, we just can't seem to get the water to not drizzle. It doesn't pour over the gutter, but it drizzles more. I mean, it hits that edge and it just, in lines of water, and I have 2 buckets I have there. I had them there by accident. And then we had rain, just about a couple months ago, we had heavy rains, and I was shocked that they were full. And it's just, you know, it's hard to comprehend, and that amount of water, if that is going then to the edge of,
How much more?
I mean, it could easily drizzle into the, and it did. In fact, at one time, you know, it actually it just seeped into the basement. I don't have a cell phone. Seeped into the basement just a drizzle, but I don't want it, you know, I'm just.
Your house doesn't have a sump pump?
No, it doesn't.
I was impressed when I,
Knock on wood.
the observations I made, I
nothing
was
serious.
impressed by the
Yeah.
fact that lawns around here don't absorb the amount of moisture that you normally expect. I saw runoff coming right out of people's nicely manicured lawns
Yeah, I know, it's
because
bad.
of the clay underneath.
Yeah, especially the way they put the sod in.
It just ran off the
All right,
top.
guys, are we good?
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so the mayor has talked to me sort of preliminarily about this area and some of the problems, so, we can make that our next one.
I really think from a storm sewer
Put
standpoint,
buckets
those
out in the
are too
backyard.
big.
Stop
I think
going
so,
to-
which is why we televised those
Like
places
two.
first, so we did get all the street stuff, because we knew that was a problem area, so.
Awesome.
So, to sum up, we're gonna get flow line in.
So are we
I think,
finished with the the storm sewer stuff?
yeah, if you start talking about sanitary sewer, I'm out.
No,
Do you have something to report?
no,
Oh,
no,
good.
other than, if it's all right with council, assuming we have money left over in the storm sewer analysis budget, I would like to use money from that budget to develop your sanitary sewer CCTV plan, so that when you budget money next year, we know exactly where we wanna go.
Yeah, next year we are planning, I mean, obviously, that's gonna be one of the first things that we start talking about in January is
Because
getting
we
on
don't-
the books.
We don't have a sanitary, when we very smartly finished it all, and that one fell swoop, that last one, at one of your recommendation, or your request, then it changed the whole program.
Schedule.
So now we don't have a
We-
schedule going
No,
forward, so if you guys are okay with, I would like to spend it, I mean, I think we budgeted in the sanitary proposal to you, I think we budgeted like 8 hours
Okay,
total to do it. So if there's money left over in the storm sewer analysis, part of that proposal is to develop your storm sewer schedule. If you guys are okay, we'd like to develop the sanitary sewer schedule so you have a plan.
cause I think we're planning on next year going ahead with the first one, so then we can go ahead and, because yes, we did it all in one swoop, so we're going to need to do that.
Yeah, because what Randall and I are intending to do is produce documents for you that are similar to this. This was highlighting the condition grade, but we can develop a plan and then we can give you an atlas that's color coded, so you can
Right.
see, here's 2022, here's 2023, here's 2024, and we can generate tables that'll say, here's the footage we expect to do each year, and then
Right,
budget, give you a budget
But
price.
that's novel,
to put
that's
it-
really novel,
to
a
put it in
novel
everything.
idea.
I know, all the stuff we've never done
Planning,
before. I mean,
planning and everything, wow.
so yeah, I mean, I'm totally on board, but I guess I don't vote for it, so I guess I need to.
Especially
We had the conversation.
well,
I
there's
think
3 of
we all
us here
talked
in the
about-
Yes.
tiebreaker.
It was a 5 to 7 year, and we're about at 7 now.
Yeah,
So-
it would be, next year is really when you should
Do we have to
probably
put that in
start
legislation?
it over.
I don't think so, because it'll be
No.
money left over, so
Yeah.
as long as you guys tell him yes, I don't wanna
Well,
be the
there's
one to
3
tell
of
him,
us
yeah.
in the tiebreaker,
Yeah.
so I'm in.
I mean, I'm fine with it as long as they
I'm
are.
fine.
It's, I mean, the money's
Should be there,
authorized,
yeah.
and so it's just a good, it's a good planning.
Yeah.
tool.
So yeah, it works for us.
Okay.
Works for
Is
me.
that-
And then I'm sorry, but since we're all sitting.
No,
here,
I would
this
rather
is
do it
the-
now.
This is the streets committee meeting.
You have the floor.
I would like I think I understand based on what you and I have talked about, but I would just like some clarification from the streets committee. The streets committee and I don't wanna say just the committee, but the committee and council decided to not do the pavement condition assessment this year,
Right, that's
correct?
true.
So you do not wanna execute the agreement with,
Well, that,
Well-
once that was arrived at, this came up again. And I'm not certain how it
We
was
had a
left
couple
off the
residents,
last time.
well, because we had a couple residents, you and I were standing there talking and we were talking to a couple people and they were kind of disappointed that we weren't moving forward with it, and that's how that conversation came. Here's how I would say it, I know it was, this is one of those that I'm not gonna fight to do it or fight not to do
Yeah.
it, because they have said that they are willing to do it, you know, next year. So, and it was, I think the reason, and you guys, this is, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, you guys should, was because it was already budgeted for next year. If we don't necessarily have the funds to do anything with the analysis, let's just wait until next year, because we already have 15 things on our plates that we are trying to budget for. Now, that said, we have the money in the streets fund to do this particular thing, so it's not like it's coming from the general fund, so whether we do it this year or next year really is, I don't wanna say irrelevant, but, you know, whether we do it this year or next year, it's still from the streets fund,
The point is, well, you weren't gonna act, the point, as I recall, the
That's fine.
discussion, was that even if we do it and we find out what the priorities are, we don't have the budget to do anything about it this year. And so why not wait and do the analysis next year along with some money in the budget to do something about it, and we can do it, and it'll be fresher information. Like if there's new potholes or do this or do that, we'll have everything we need to move forward next year.
Is there someone with some concerns about the road?
Well,
No, I only
have
asked-
a question.
Well, she had said.
Is there a pressing reason that you would like to do this sooner than next year?
well, I only asked because I misunderstood what council was planning. And so I told Resource, council passed this legislation on this date to do your work. Expect,
So they've allocated time?
no, so so I told them the legislation will take effect because it was on the agenda.
right?
Yeah.
And I didn't watch the meeting that apparently it didn't get passed.
Yeah,
It
we
was-
have
it
all
was
kinds of
on-
tricks on our
Yeah,
sleeves.
it was on the agenda, so I was like, oh, this was the third reading. And I
It
didn't-
kinda didn't really get passed or not passed, there was discussion
It was tabled.
exactly along the lines that Mayor Hughes just
Yeah.
reiterated, and it kinda was left
Well, the thing was, yeah. so-
dangling a little bit.
But so I didn't listen. I try to watch as many of them or listen to as many of the meetings as I can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's kind of hard when you're trying to do the work.
If you can't
But-
find the recorder.
Still
But-
recording.
So I thought it had passed. So I reached out to Resource and said, hey, just so you know, the legislation authorizing the village to do this passed its third reading. It will come into effect on or around May 19th. So, you know, perhaps you will have an agreement within a week after that.
Surprise.
And so then they reached out to me, it was like, hey, no update on this, and
False alarm.
I was like, oh yeah, I actually had a conversation with the mayor, and I don't think they're doing it this year. So I told them, hey, I have a streets committee meeting with the village on Wednesday, I will get confirmation. So now I can tell them, no, I told them, I think that's been tabled for 2022.
And when you do have something pressing or recommendations, usually you parlay that to the mayor, I would presume.
Well,
Yeah, so
And then maybe you
And then I
can make
do-
sure that gets parlayed to the committee.
I think the other small part to that was because we haven't fixed the other thing that we already knew was an issue to try to get some of that stuff, I don't know. But then we'd also have, and again, now we're almost getting to 9 o'clock, but at some point, you know, are we at this point still working on the Maplewood, Alder Vista,
Road repair.
road repairs, are we putting that, cause I think we were moving forward, if I recall that in the meeting.
I don't have,
I don't think we are.
I don't have an
Okay.
agreement for
No.
it.
No, yeah, so I think that was just.
That was gonna happen after the assessment or so, I don't know.
So,
I know we put that.
On the back
thing
burner,
hold,
okay.
Yeah.
so here's,
Just wanna make sure we're all on the same
All on
page.
hold.
yeah, so
The project of the never ending.
my thought on this whole thing, I don't disagree with what you're saying about you want the information to be fresh, but the problem is.
And the budget.
but-
It
but
be
the-
available
but-
to do something about it at the same
Right,
time.
but,
And that was not just me, that was.
no, I know, but so, by doing what you've done,
Mm.
the odds of getting that project done next year, that Maplewood project
Yeah.
is now a 2023 project.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because
And, yeah.
because you can't, there's not enough time to do it all at once. So what we would recommend is if you wanted to wait to get the pavement condition assessment done, you know, maybe maybe you do it in early January or February. That's going to take them time. You probably get a report maybe March. Then if we look at that, then we still have to define the project over there. And that's another month to 2 months of calendar time. And then we say, hey, based on all this information, here's the project we recommend you do there. And then you have to say, okay, that's the scope of work, let's do that. Then we have to give you a proposal to do that work, if it's us. By the time you're actually ready to start that project, to even start the design, it's basically July. And so then you get it out to bid. So it'll take a month or two to just do the whole project. Now it's September. You bid it, it has to advertise for 30 to 22 days, I think is the thing. So now it's October. Then by the time you pass legislation, the batch plants are closed. And so then it won't start again until
Right.
April 2023, which, I mean, that's fine, but I just want council to realize, to understand that.
Right.
By doing that, that project is now a 2023 project.
And it was a project that should have been done in 2017.
But what you've,
Well, it was recommended in 2017, but I think for my part, I can't speak for the other council, for my part, it just seemed we didn't have a sinkhole in the middle of Minerva Lake Road. So in other words, it wasn't a fire. It's not a fire yet. We're just behind. And so we're throwing money and time and resources at all of our fires, and I think we're a little exhausted. And so we don't necessarily want to go looking for something that's not a fire yet. I personally would love to see us get past that.
Mm-hmm.
But so I know what you're saying, because I know that, Joel, and
We're there, yeah.
I've learned that lesson from what you're 2-3 years ago, from when you rightly so went through the whole project planning process, and I get that. But we weren't looking for a new project. We're just overwhelmed with things that are fires right now.
And I don't disagree with that. I just want council to realize that now pushes it back.
It, right.
But it pushes a project back in an area that has been classified as failing pavement since 2016.
Right.
But the other thing that it does is it now limits your funding options. Because if council had authorized, even without the pavement condition assessment, if council had authorized us to do the preliminary project scoping, we could then have come to council and said, here are your options for a project. This is what we think it costs. And you then could have applied for an OPWC grant or a low interest loan, even though you have the money.
Right.
If you can get a 0% interest loan,
We've been successful doing.
that's a better fund. So if you want to pursue that option, you realistically at this point, you might be able to get into the 2022 funding window, which means then you couldn't start construction on that project until July 1st, 2023. if you wanna do that funding. Where if we could have done the preliminary thing, then you could say, you know what, this is a project that's worth pursuing funding. And then you could have done it if you could.
But now it's gonna be a 2024 if we wanna go that route now.
It could be.
Or next year.
Or late 2023.
Mhm.
So, because we don't know, of course, how much, we don't know what it is that we wanna fund exactly, because we haven't done the study to see what we.
Right,
exactly
because you
what
could
to
have
fund.
merged two or three
Because then-
projects
And then,
together.
of course, we don't know how much, and then, of course, we already have 2 outstanding loans with OPWC we haven't paid off yet.
Oh, we've
And
all
so-
paid a year.
I mean, so there's a limit, and so we wanna talk to finance, Kim, in terms of how many more of these things can we even afford to do, OPWC or not? And, in terms of funding, we have to look at that. So it's a slow process, so and it's a bunch of what ifs. Meanwhile, we're trying to find money for a loan for a facility, a loan for lake remediation, and so I guess if this study is important to, if the study is that important to move forward sometime in 2023, then we have to start now.
Well, I guess
If you're saying that.
That's my question. Do we need to do the road assessment in order to do the Maplewood project? I thought you already said it was already determined that it's.
No, my point to that was if there was some, and I could be wrong, but if there was something additional in the area that we found that was an issue, because we have actually, that is the Maplewood. But when you get into like the Briar Rose area, that's where that's like really
So
crumbled.
that's not part of it.
No, it doesn't go that far.
So-
We had discussed that in a previous meeting. I'll let you talk.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. So what, in the proposal for that task order, I said we would look, because council said, okay, we know the entrance needs to be repaired, but there may be some desire to fix a lot of curb and gutter all the way down, or to go to Briar Rose, or to go beyond Briar Rose. So as part of our proposal, what we said was, we will look at all the data that we can readily find. Like, we're not gonna go out there and drill a bunch of borings and stuff, but we would use the existing pavement condition assessment information. We would use the new pavement condition assessment information if it were available. And so what I told Resource is, if you guys get authorized to do this, we will wanna coordinate with you, because we think there's a project coming up soon that we'll wanna get really good data in this area. We would take all of that data and we would say, here are our recommendations for this segment, and this segment.
How long
And then
ago-
you could add,
How long ago was the condition report that we had, the world?
2016.
From 2016.
Now, I don't think there's significant changes. So
See, that's what I'm getting at.
it's not like if we don't have that, we couldn't start our work. We would just prefer to have it, but it's not the end of the world.
Well,
if
I'm
we
sure
don't.
that showed up as not imminent danger, real.
No, it was just failing. I
Failing.
mean, it was listed as, I think it was the worst part in the village,
Right.
except for
Valley Road.
Valley Road, which doesn't really,
Is this something?
doesn't
we
really
might
count, but I mean.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
a
it counts
driveway.
right now because the pool's
Pool's
open.
open.
And I'm telling you what, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna get some freaking ping pong balls, and I know I'm on recording. I'm gonna start throwing it at cars because the cars think that it's 100 miles an hour through there.
Well,
I have never seen anything like it. Like, I was coming around the corner, going 19 miles an hour, and this girl, I mean, I understand she was probably going 25 or 30, but that's why it's like 10, because it's this big of a
It's a
road.
short shoot, and people.
Oh my gosh, I was like, if there would have been a kid riding their bike or something, and it was a young girl, I was so tempted to go, turn around and go in there. So close, I'm a mom.
That's
Can you tell?
why
Where was
Emily
this,
Walters
Speedy?
always was
Oh,
posting
they should be complaining after what I saw today
Where was this?
on Valley Road.
by the pool.
Some
Well-
girl going to the pool.
So, I mean.
Question with it 5 to 9. Is this something
And
we
that
might
little-
wanna
little piece of-
revisit?
Mhm.
Asphalt.
She went
or-
around that corner going as fast as her car would go around that corner. It was ridiculous.
Is this something we might wanna revisit in a work session?
Oh, yeah.
What Mike's talking about on the road
I mean,
assessment?
I don't think so. I think he's asking us to, we tabled the improvement assessment process thing.
And that was, I just,
I'm just
And
asking.
so.
the mayor
yeah.
told me that, I just wanted to make sure I understood everything correctly.
Because we haven't seen each other either. I
Yeah.
mean, this is the first time we've been in the same.
So he's suggesting we untable it.
No,
He's suggesting we discuss it in council and
I got
possibly untable it.
I'm just saying, if,
And if we did,
More
it could be
information would
done,
be better.
it could be done this year.
I'm,
If we did.
my take, I guess my overall thought on that is, doing it this year versus doing it next year
Put you a year ahead.
won't materially affect anything, but it gives you information earlier that you can act upon it earlier if necessary.
I think it's more what you don't know. Sometimes it's better not to know, but,
Don't
especially,
ask
Which
especially,
one, we had that discussion about when
Yeah.
the two of you said, can we do the rest of the sewer? And remember we said, man, if we televise the rest of the sewer and we find a bunch of stuff,
Right.
can you afford to do, can you afford
And
to
that,
do it?
and a resident
we-
basically looked at us and said, don't do it if you're not gonna fix it. And I was like, okay, well, we're doing it, so I hope we can fix it.
yeah, no, okay.
And we did.
So, there's something related to this, the, Lakewood, the entranceway there. I just had, that's where you're talking about repairing it, right?
Maplewood, like the.
It's just the
Maplewood-
entrance, yeah.
Maplewood, Lakewood.
Okay, so I know that this, was it the city of Columbus that took our extra signs down?
Eric's still working on that.
So I'm throwing this out here because it is a peculiar wackadoodle, right, entrance. And I was surprised when I did my little map that it's really Maplewood, not Lakewood.
Correct.
Yeah, it was a long time before.
Put it this way,
figured
I
out.
have a lady that is wearing me out
It-
because she wants her signs back, and I'm just like, I don't believe that the signs should all be there.
So
It's
if
Maplewood.
we're redoing that, if there's something we need to know about what we should or shouldn't, or reconfigure it somehow, because I just wouldn't want Columbus to come back after we're all done making it pretty, going, this is really something wrong with this, and you need to straighten this road.
I don't even know that
this
you know what we're
and-
talking about. So Columbus came and took all of our signs down and left Maplewood. Because
So
we had
the street
Lakewood,
is
Lakeland.
actually- yeah.
Cause it used to have like 4 or 5 signs that
Yes,
told you all
correct.
the streets that were down that way.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I forever, been here 35 years, I forever thought it was Lakewood. I was driving into Lakewood and then veering off
yeah,
to Maplewood.
it's
but not.
Maplewood, you veer off to
It's
Lakewood.
Maplewood.
And then what's confusing is Maplewood then goes all the way back around
Yeah.
and connects with Lakewood.
Yeah.
Which when we're discussing it internally, I always have to say the first intersection, the second intersection.
Yeah.
So just to give you a quick overview though, Tony, real quick, this is what we had discussed internally this is the first project that this is the one from the pavement condition assessment. And then this was the one that I told them, hey, they might want to do some
Because
stuff.
that Maplewood Briar Rose
Oh,
area
yeah.
is a train wreck.
And then
Oh, yeah.
the proposal that I gave actually goes. Let's see where I defined the segments. Segment 1, Cleveland Avenue to Lakewood Drive. So that's to that intersection.
You mean Maplewood?
No, to Lakewood.
Lakewood?
It's Maplewood from Cleveland Avenue to Lakewood Drive.
Okay.
At the end.
Right here. This is Maplewood from Cleveland Avenue to Lakewood Drive.
Okay.
So yeah, I have a lady that has called me no less than 5 times wanting to know where her signs are.
Does she like the
And then
governor?
segment
Does that
2
governor write a letter
was
to
Lakewood
her?
Drive to Briar
And
Rose
she can't
Avenue.
have it.
Okay.
And then segment 3 was Briar Rose Avenue to Alder Vista Drive. So kind of wrapping around to the midpoint is how we broke this up.
Alright, well, that was another 30 minutes after we said we were done. Thank you,
Okay.
Mike, seriously, yeah, when you come, it's great information.
Well, I'm
Was
telling
there
you.
anything else that you had that you wanted to tell us about?
He's
Sweet
told
hour
more
for
than
everyone
he
to
wanted
Did you
to.
wanted to chide us about, lecture us about?
No, my intent, my hope is that
Isn't it a little better than it used to be?
that you guys don't get caught unawares.
We
Or
always
putting out
have.
another fire that we should have
It would not be
fixed.
unusual for us to be caught unawares or be putting out another fire. We're not at the point where that can't happen. We're just not at that point yet.
But we're getting there.
And it takes a long time, and everybody's putting out fires.
Yeah,
So
so I mean, I don't think, for us right now, the goal of getting to the point of not putting out fires, that's a big goal.
It is a goal.
That's a stretch goal, that's a big, bad stretch goal.
That is a stretch
And
goal.
here's what I would say, we are definitely getting better. Because
We are.
But I will also say, as someone who's been here
Longer than all of us.
since January 2005, that's how it was when we started. These are the I'd say these are the more complicated projects in a short amount of time that we've done. I mean, we've done a streets project, and maybe we do another streets project, and then maybe there's a year off and another streets project, but we haven't done 3 sewer projects in 2 years. I mean, you guys did 2 sewer projects at the same time,
Right.
which is not easy.
It's exciting.
It's not easy.
Oh, no, it's not, because poor Leah and Kim and a pool.
And a pool. I forgot about the pool at the same time.
I mean, when
2
Mike
sewer
sends an
projects
email,
and-
every single one of us goes, oh my God, did you see what we just got? Like, we all do it.
Our
We
infrastructure
cringe.
is kind of crumbled.
He's got feelings.
Our infrastructure's not real good.
It's one of those that we're just like, oh, what's wrong? No, it's great. It's great because we do feel like we're getting something done. You know, anytime you get a pool, and we're gonna be working on getting the reimbursement for the pool and everything, so if I need anything, I'll let you know.
There is, now that the project is complete,
Yes.
there is one other, thing that I'll point out to you in a separate email message, but now you're required to buy a sign
Okay,
to install it at the pool,
okay,
and you can buy it from ODNR.
okay.
But there's a
Yeah, send me whatever you have and we'll get it done.
Oh, because you used their grant
when you
money.
use their grant money, they want me
Oh.
to put up a Nature
That's
Works
fine.
grant sign.
Ah.
I'd be more than happy to put one of
Yeah,
those on.
they even give you like
That's fine.
an address, and you
Okay.
can buy it from these people direct, so.
Beautiful.
I think that's the only real closeout item you have.
Okay,
A
so as soon as we
small
do that,
price to
we'll,
pay.
yeah, it's a small price to pay. Oh, the pool is beautiful. It is
It
great.
looks really sharp.
Yeah, it is.
I think Eric mentioned to me that he's working on something regarding the paving of the road up toward the Hawthorne Elementary along 161. Oh, yeah.
Paving.
Eric
I
said that
believe what
Westerville may be,
Joe is talking about is the traffic impact study information that I forwarded to you about how we,
Yeah,
So is this a new?
No, wait a
new-
minute, this
some new
isn't new,
news?
isn't it? Cause.
No, this
they
is not
talked-
new.
We already talked about that.
yeah, this is, I think they had to go before planning and zoning.
Right, it's not
Yeah, we
gonna,
know.
they said it
I
wasn't
think,
gonna.
I think that's what he's
Yeah,
talking
and
about.
that was my only concern about that was that when I asked, when they were gonna start on the middle school, the one across from Hawthorne, is that the middle
Yes.
school? Okay. Middle school, they said, well, they might be doing, dirt work in there, it's starting in July.
Yes.
And so, you know, there's a couple people, there's some events that might be being planned that might be impacted if they're behind the school.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But yeah, but that part is supposed to be expanded, but not the part going into it, which is, where our would involve our 2 residents that are on Farview right there. But that part's not gonna be widened, it's just gonna be after you.
Yeah,
get in.
because after that, you
After
don't,
that.
it doesn't need to be widened.
So, but they are putting in a permanent turn lane in the middle to try to help the traffic when it backs up for parents picking up their kids. So they are gonna widen that, they're gonna widen that somehow in front of the schools.
Front of the school.
Yeah, I mean, they have to submit the drawings to us to
Yeah.
review
Well,
them.
I'm sure you've seen them, I mean,
No, they haven't
we're the
done it.
last to know, usually last.
No,
We are the
haven't-
last to know, but he hasn't seen them.
They haven't done that yet.
He will get them before I see them.
Okay.
Yeah, he works directly with, and I don't know that everybody really knows that, cause I know I never do
Well,
that stuff, but
Yeah, and I
He
just assumed
coordinates-
that once Eric has shown it to us, everyone else has seen it.
no, like, they communicate with Eric and him. I know when Eric and him tell me that, oh, I did this with Westerville Schools and I did, like, he has authorization to deal directly with them, that way we don't
Cause
Yeah.
what am I gonna do?
Nothing gets lost in the translation.
Yeah, no, I mean,
No,
what am
that-
I gonna do a traffic study? Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
not.
no,
First thing
that-
I do is call him.
That was in the presentation that Mike did for us on the school.
Yes.
We wanna wind this up,
Yep.
do we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm-
Oh, yeah.
This
Tony and I
concludes the street meeting,
Thank you, guys.
and, thank you very much, Mike and Mayor Heath, for attending.
Yeah.
It's always a